What's up, BJPenn.com? We have BJPenn.com radio coming live again with Mr. George Matthews and myself, BJ Carrasco. George, how you doing today?
Not bad. What's going on, man?
Not much. We almost didn't make it on the air today, huh? A lot of technical glitches going on.
Yeah, it's always, we're probably going to have to change something soon, I guess, because especially as this grows, we can't really be dealing with that kind of nonsense, but it happens, and so we got to deal with it for the time being, so it's all good, right? Got to figure it out.
Yeah, it's all good, man. So what's been going on with you this week, Mr. Matthews?
All right, man, just, the normal stuff, trying to keep up with the circus that is the MMA news, and the normal daily stuff. A lot of interesting shenanigans going on with Nick Diaz and GSP weigh-in stuff and all sorts of stuff.
Bro, that's really shady stuff, man. We won't get into the history of our team's dealings with the GSP camp, but when I saw that video that the Diaz camp released, I was not surprised, but kind of like, I have a lot of questions,
I don't know how it can just be forgiven on a title fight. It's always been so strictly enforced. It's not like they do have a point. It's like, well, if this is such a loose rule, then how come nobody mentioned anything yet? Like nobody said a thing. And if it's such a loose rule, how come it's not like that for everybody on the card? So it's just really weird. I don't really understand where they're coming from as a commission on the whole thing. But I guess the lawyers are going to figure it out now, is what it sounds like.
Well, man, that's the crazy thing. Like, did you know that wasn't even the commissioner that was telling Diaz and his guys that? That was like the UFC's legal man. Like, that was like the attorney for the UFC going up to Nick Diaz and his team telling him that he didn't have to make weight just this one special time. That wasn't even the commission. That was the UFC.
In context, when was the video, like how long was the video taken prior to the weigh-in?
I mean, in my experience, okay, because we got BJ and we're always behind scenes with BJ, that was at the weigh-ins. That was...
It looked like it was at the weigh-in. Like from my experience, it looks like because they're sitting there in the bleachers behind the curtain.
Behind the curtain, exactly. That's what they were doing, dude. That's exactly when it was. Probably either before or after the fighter meeting. Dana usually comes out and talks to the guys, before the weigh-ins and tells them, this is it. Fight to the finish. Don't let the judges decide the outcome. Bonus amounts, all that kind of jazz, and it looked like it was during that phase, either before Dana's talk or after, that the UFC's attorney came out and talked to them, saying, "Hey, we're going to allow 0.9 allowance," which is absolutely insane.
Yeah, I mean, if they're sitting up in those bleachers like that, it looks like it's just prior to weigh-in, just prior. So I don't know. I don't really know. Like I said, I don't really understand where the commission's coming from on it. They gave some kind of weird explanation as to the rule, and I don't know. I just don't really. It's always been my understanding that you have to make weight on target for a title fight, or it's off. I mean, it's happened in history where guys come in over and they're not allowed to fight.
Dude, it's crazy. I don't know, because it's the Quebec Commission, right? So maybe they have room for error there. I do know that if you look at the past UFC events that have taken place in Montreal, they never cite the decimal point at the weigh-ins, and there's always decimal points. It's like 170.4, 170.5, and for like the last 5 events in Montreal, if you look at the weigh-in results, there hasn't been any decimal point cited. But the strange thing is that the guy specifically said, we're not going to count the decimal just for you and George, but everybody else has to fucking make weight. Sorry for my French. We shouldn't be cussing, but yeah, it was interesting.
Yeah, like I don't really understand. Like, what is the purpose of the rule? What is the purpose? It just doesn't make any sense. Like, why would you even allow that? At like the pinnacle of, particularly in title fight, you would think that the rule would make more sense to apply it to a non-title fight where there isn't something on the line. But for some reason, it's okay. You can come in over for a title fight. I've just never heard of that. Guys have been, told they can't fight when they come in over. It's happened before. On numerous probably different levels. Nothing really as bad as say when Travis Luda didn't make weight, stuff like that for his title fight with Anderson Silva. He was like very over, I believe.
Yeah.
But either way, it just doesn't make any sense. I think that they have a legit gripe there. I don't know what they're going to do about it. I guess we're going to find out. I really don't know how they pursue or go any further. So we'll see. That seems to be the talk. Even more so than the the next UFC card, which is Gustafsson and Musashi. That tells you a lot. The aftermath of GSP Diaz is still the focal point after the fight occurred.
I mean, the Diaz camp comes out and they tell the world that they're filing a complaint with the Quebec Commission, right? Not only for the weigh-in thing that we just talked about, but for the way they handled the samples of the drug testing being done. And what they're demanding is an immediate rematch with George St. Pierre, with GSP making the limit of 170 pounds as contractually agreed upon, or that GSP vacates the belt. Now, they're not going to win it, no matter what. Like, do you think they're going to win? I don't think they're going to win. I think it's all smoke and mirrors. They can try as hard as they want. They can blow smoke. They can make noise. But at the end of the day, the Quebec Commission isn't going to do anything.
The only way that they would win is if they overturned the fight to a no contest. Then the UFC would be put in a position to where, if the fight was ruled a no contest, then it would then be, it would be almost obligated because they kind of already set this precedent where they live and die by we're governed by the commission. We do what the commission say. Well, if you do what the commission say, you're following the commission. Well, the commission say, well, then it's no contest, and you got to start from square one again. But if they're not going to overturn it, then the commission can't strip GSP. That's a UFC title. It's not like it's not held by by the commission. It's held by the UFC. If they don't want you to have a belt, you can't have a belt. You're not going to take it. They're not going to take it unless. I just can't see them taking it unless they get some sort of ruling that they turn into a no contest.
Yeah.
I can't see that happening. So.
It's not going to happen. It's awesome. It's an awesome story. It's really intriguing for everybody to read and listen to and hear about. And Nick Diaz is definitely a guy who, while I may not agree with some of his personal choices, he's a guy that sticks to his guns and he stands up for what he feels is right. He took the Nevada State Athletic Commission to court, for Christ's sake. You know what I mean? Like, this guy, there's no boundaries. He wants to make sure that his opinion and his voice and what he thinks is right is heard, and he'll take it to the courts if he has to. So that's something to be respected.
Yeah, from the outside looking in, and to me, it looks like he has a legit right. Like, I don't see how he wouldn't have a legit argument here. At least you have to give some sort of explanation better than the bullshit one they put out a day or two ago. I mean, the one they gave just was like, well, that's always been our rule, so there you go. Well, you know, there's going to be a little more of an explanation than that. It just didn't make any sense. I think you got a legit argument there. I just don't know what they're going to do about it in the end, because he's kind of like in a position where the only way he's probably going to get the recourse he's looking for is if the decision is turned over. I just don't see them doing anything else unless the decision turned over. I mean, if the win stands, then why would they strip him of the belt? You know, you can't very well strip the guy and then keep the win. That doesn't make any sense.
Oh, dude, yeah, nothing's going to happen, you know.
Yeah.
And we may hear about this for the next month, maybe 2 months, but it's going to eventually fade away. We're going to have to publish a headline that says Quebec Athletic Commission denies any wrongdoing or whatever like that, and what's going to happen? Nothing's going to happen.
Well, it's an interesting twist on what was awesomely promoted fight, you know, and I guess the storyline is continuing, huh? We're not done. So we'll see where it ends up, but I'm with you. I don't see anything coming of it. You know, I just don't see how anything is going to come of it, you know, and you know, we'll see, you know. I think he's got a legitimate argument. I just don't know what. I mean,
he definitely has a legitimate argument. Let's think about this. Okay, his brother, Nate Diaz. Didn't Nate have to weigh in again when he fought Benson Henderson in Seattle? Didn't Nate miss weight? Wasn't he like 155.4 pounds, and they gave him 2 hours to make the weight? You know,
yeah.
I mean, he was a decimal point off of making weight, and he had to go back. He had a couple hour allowance to return and make the 155.00 weight mark. And that's the way every championship fight has been. That's the way it always is. So he has an argument.
You know, I'll tell you where he got a really good argument is for 20% of that purse.
Yeah.
I don't know that they're going to give him a belt. You know, I mean, I think that's just going so far. I mean, especially, it's not like GSP is a guy that has held the title for the last 8 months. I mean, he's been a long reigning champion. You know, to take the belt from him just like that, you know, I don't see that happening. But the 20% of the purse, hey, that's not so bad if you look at GSP's purse. You know?
Yeah, man.
I mean, I mean, the loss sucks, but 20% of GSP's payday, that makes the loss, you know, not so bad in my book.
That would be pretty. Who knows what GSP makes, but that would be probably a nice little bonus to his payday.
Well, yeah. Well, I can tell you this: he's not worrying about where his next meal's coming from. You know, so you know, 20% of a, you know, you've got to be one of the higher paid guys in the roster. It's not the highest, and you think that, you know, 20% for him is a pretty big chunk. But again, you know, we're just talking, you know, what if, you know, we don't really know how it's going to turn out.
Yeah, we have no idea.
Why are these people surprised? They just found him deceitfully tasting Sam Adams Boston Lager. It's got a good hoppy smell.
George, are you there?
Good body.
Yes.
I like that.
All right, awesome. So what do you do if you're Johnny Hendricks, man?
For Johnny Hendricks.
And like, what do you do if you're Johnny Hendricks and they give Diaz an immediate rematch?
I don't even know. What can you do? You going to quit? I guess you just suck it up. Maybe you bitch and moan, but what are you going to do? I mean, you can't do anything. It's not like you can file some sort of grievance and they're going to push you to the front of the line and say, all right, you know, you're right. UFC, you can't do this. There's not some sort of like governing body that to protect that and to that's just something that he just has to do. There's really nothing that he can do. He can piss and moan, but that's really about it. He's kind of in a bad position, I guess, if that were to happen, but I just don't see it happening. So if I'm him, I'm just business as usual. I train and expect a fight in a few months. GFT's filming a movie too, so it's not like he can be ready to jump in for a rematch right away with anyone. So.
True. So who do we have on today, George? We got Josh Thomson coming on, who's fighting Nate Diaz, right?
Yeah, that's gonna be an awesome fight. I don't think anybody can look at those two styles and not think it's gonna be a really, really good scrap. And they're from right across basically across the street. So that'll be a fun fight. You also have King Mo. TNA and Bellator star, doing the pro wrestling thing and the MMA thing. He had a tough outing in Bellator. There was a lot of big hopes for him, but it's a knockout. If it was a quick one punch flash knockout, it's one of the ones that, it happens. You should have zagged in MMA, and that's what happened. He's a hell of a fighter and a student of the game, so I expect him to bounce back pretty quick in it.
It was crazy. A lot of critics were saying that, that's why boxing, you can't just focus on boxing and MMA because King Mo's the example, But
yeah,
they don't throw spinning back fists in boxing.
No, they don't. But I'm kind of somebody who trains and competes. I'm kind of the thing where I kind of have the mindset where you have to just train in those disciplines and kind of make it your own. You can't really expect anybody to make it your own for you. Your speed, your body, and everything you do is different. And in this case, all those things are different, and this sport is different. It's more multifaceted, So if he focused too much on it, I don't know if you could put so much in the trainer. Just something that he did. But yeah, I don't. It's tough to say, man. And a spinning back fist and a shot like that. If he was 2 inches further to the left, the shot misses, and maybe the fight goes 3 rounds. And it ends differently. Maybe he gets knocked out again. It's very difficult to say. But Mo's a good fighter, and he's been a world champion pretty much everywhere he's gone, and every venture he's gone to. So I expect him to bounce back pretty quick from this, and we'll see a better King Mo. So be interesting to see what he has to say, especially on the pro wrestling front. It's you got WrestleMania right around the corner, and you get a star. Everybody who's a pro wrestler is probably watching WrestleMania. I can't, even people who aren't pro wrestlers are watching WrestleMania. So we'll see what his predictions are and what he thinks of all the stuff that's going on with TNA and WWE.
What I find fascinating about the whole King Mo thing is he signs this historic deal, right, to be on TNA Wrestling, to enter the Bellator light heavyweight tournament. And in my opinion, and I think in many people's opinion, he was the favorite to win that tournament, right? I mean, the guy's good, But then there he goes in the semifinals, he gets knocked out. And it's just kind of like, it was really shocking to me. I know in MMA, anything can happen. But I think it speaks volumes to the talent that the Bellator promotion is pulling out.
Yeah, they do source some good talent, especially I think at the lighter weight. I think they really put their best foot forward with recruiting some of the better lightweights and bantamweights and featherweights. But I definitely think that King Mo was above and beyond a lot of the guys on the roster. But you also have to remember that he had a long layoff. He had he had that surgery. That damn near ended his career. Not many people will be able to come back from that. He lost a lot of weight. I think he was down to 180 pounds or something like that. We'll ask him. That's hard to come back from that, and then to get yourself back into fight shape, and then he's also doing pro wrestling. He's trying to learn how to be a pro wrestler at the same time. I don't know if anybody can understand how. I've never done anything like that, but I can only imagine how difficult that is. On top of that, you have to train for MMA. You have to, it keeps a lot of stuff on your plate. We'll see. There's a lot of stuff to balance out, and the real rat race with the pro wrestling stuff, I don't think has even begun yet. I think it's about to begin. So, yeah, let me be interested to see what he says.
What do you think about Thomson versus Diaz? Break down that fight for us real quick, George.
Thomson Diaz. Thomson comes forward. He's definitely a three-dimensional and real mixed martial artist as far as his attacks are concerned. He's got good wrestling. He's got good striking. Good submission defense. Diaz, black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Good boxing. Doesn't throw a lot of kicks. Thomson throws more kicks. I think that Thomson will have advantage with the kicks. Diaz will probably be expecting him to be throwing some kicks. The wrestling, that could be a big advantage. But Nate's going to get on the ground. He's got a tricky guard. It's an interesting fight to see where it plays out. But I think that there's going to be a lot of fireworks. I think they're going to be both coming forward, and it's going to be a pretty wild fight. Yeah, you.
You know what? I'm a big Josh Thomson fan. I love the punk, and I also like Nate Diaz a lot. I really respect both guys, and I think that Josh has the potential for sure to shock the world, and just like these other Strikeforce guys coming in before him to kind of, put his flag in the octagon and announce that he's arrived. I don't know that Nate Diaz can beat him. I think that Nate praises, and in my discussions with Nate, Gilbert Melendez is the man, right? In Nate's eyes, he's the man. And I think that when he goes out into the cage and he says Gilbert Melendez is the best lightweight fighter in the world, I think he really believes that. And I think that Nate doesn't do too well in sparring sessions with Gilbert. And I know you can't play MMA math and all that stuff, but I think that Josh arguably won his last fight against Gilbert. And I think, and we know that he won his first fight with Gilbert. So if I do my little bit of MMA math here, it's going to be a real tough fight for Nate Diaz. And I think Josh definitely has the ability to pull out what most people will probably consider the upset,
I have to agree with you there. The only thing that I don't think that I'm not sure that Nate would quantify anything from training, and typical fight. Only because, Nate and Gilbert, Nate may think that, but the fact of the matter is that when he's trained with Gilbert for how many years now? Like, pretty much the entire, his entire game has been seen by Gilbert. Okay, so these are two guys that they already know what each other's going to do. They've already seen each other's A game in training. And when people know your A game, they know what side you're going to pass guard to. They know where you're stronger on top. Like, they know what side to pass your guard to, where you're weakest. You have a weak underhook. You don't scramble as well. People know that shit. They know that shit on me. So guys that have been training that together that long, black belts, he's gonna know. So I don't know what I would take away from that, but I think that the styles do make fights, and that Thomson and guys like Thomson are very, very tough fights for Gilbert, because Gilbert's best strengths, Thomson's strengths, pretty much trump him, and or right there, and so it turns it into into a dogfight, and I think that's where Gilbert is going to have a lot of problems with Ben Henderson.
Right. Here's what I know. I know Josh Thomson. He's a scary dude to step across the cage with, for anybody, I feel like. The one question mark with Josh is always his health. This guy trains so hard, he gets injured a lot. Right? That's been a pattern in his career, I think. We actually have him on the line right now, Mr. Josh Thomson. Tell us how you're doing, man. Are you healthy today?
Yeah, so far today I'm healthy.
How's it going, man? Long time no talk.
It's been going good. I just got back from China for 6 weeks filming a movie out there. And came home, jumped right into a training camp, for possibly, I guess you consider this possibly one of the biggest fights of my career. So I have no complaints, man. It's just from leaving one job, jumping into another, and hopefully making my way onto the UFC title shot. That's
amazing. A lot of people know this, but maybe there's some people out there that don't know. This isn't your first rodeo in the UFC. Before you went to Strikeforce, you had a successful career under the Strikeforce banner, but now you're back in the UFC. What is that like for you, and what does this mean for you to be back fighting in the octagon against the former number one contender?
What's funny is, I left the UFC just based on the fact that they got rid of the division. The lightweight division was taken out for, I think, almost 2 years. And, so that's realistically the reason why, basically, I think that was the reason why I left the UFC. There was, I didn't want to fight at 170 against guys like Matt Hughes, who were just huge. So I had to go somewhere else and find other places that would, to make money and live out my dream, And so I was able to fight in Pride. I was able to fight in Strikeforce, found a home there, and and been there ever since. So, coming home, it just seems like I left the UFC right where I'm actually walking right back into it. I left the UFC as the number one contender, and possibly should have been the fighting for the UFC title, and I'm right back where I should be. As I come back into it. So not much has changed, from when I left the UFC to now. So fighting the number one contender with the potential of being the number one contender and with the chance of fighting for the title next. And so, who can argue with that? I can't be mad at that. That's exactly where I want to be, and I feel like I'm right there.
Well, what do you think about this fight with Nate Diaz? If you break it down, what are your thoughts on where do you have to succeed in order to get your hand raised at the end of the night next month?
You just got to get the win. That's the biggest thing, is making sure you go out there and get the win. And no matter how it happens, Nate pulls the thread, I think, for anybody, because like GSP said, stylistically, these guys are hard to get guys to train with it that are that good. If the guy's that good at boxing and he's that long, what are they, 6'1", 6'2", they're long, good boxers. It's hard to get a guy that's long and a good boxer, but is also a black belt in jiu-jitsu that actually knows how to roll, and so just stylistically, it's hard to find, guys that are the best of both worlds, to match up against them. So you just kind of put pieces together throughout your training camp, and and just make sure you go in with each sparring session with a game plan on what you're working on that day, and that's realistically what I've been doing for this camp, is taking guys that are 6'2", 6'3", and good boxers, but aren't really that good on the ground, getting the takedown, handling them for a round, and then getting a guy that's a black belt, world class level jiu-jitsu guy, to come in and train with me and grapple. That's all you can really ask for, and just hope for the best as time comes on, as far as how the fight goes.
Okay, where does Nate, in your opinion, what is the one area you want to stay out of in this fight?
You know, realistically, the one area I want to stay out of with him is in that slug range. You know, I don't want to get into like a brawling situation with him. It is the same thing with Gilbert. You know, I think just the Caesar guys, I mean, with the exception of Jake, you know, with Nick and Nate and Gil, those three guys, I mean, you know, they don't mind mixing it up. They don't mind getting hit 2 or 3 times to give you one good one. You know, and so I think with those guys, you got to really make sure you, you know, you come in, you put in you throw your combination, you get in, you get out, or you put, you know, you basically just you push, you know, you put a lot of pressure on them, make them try and back up, you know, and that's really the key is to make sure that you're never standing directly in front of them. You're creating angles and you're letting your hands go and your hands, your knees, your feet, everything, put it all together and just let it all go.
Hey, Josh, you know, what I wanted to ask you is, you know, you return to the octagon. A lot of the fans, like Pedro was saying, they won't remember you from your first UFC run. A lot of them, you know, have only come along in the last few years. But, you know, by what you've done recently in the last few years, you have probably one of the most deceptive records. You know, you've lost 3 times only in the last, you know, 4 years or so. And a lot of those losses, a lot of people think you won. They're decision losses, they're razor thin, you know, very debatable. You know, are you looking at this differently walking into this fight? Do you have something to prove to all these newer fans, people that may not know you?
No, I don't need to prove anything to anybody. You know, like, I've been doing this for 15 years. That's a long time, man. I mean, I had my first fight in, you know, at the beginning of '98. So, I mean, it's been a long time, you know, 14, 15 years of fighting and training and, you know, and so, no, I don't really, you know, I think the thing is when I tried from before to go out there and be showy and showcasing, I mean, like, you know, and kind of show the fans who I was, I ended up having really tough fights and really putting a fight on that just to kind of answer, basically to say, like, I don't need to go out there and prove that I'm flashy and showy. That's just my style. My style is really, I put a lot of pressure. You know, I can mix it up from the feet to the ground. You know, I mean, I do things that maybe not a lot of people have seen. I mean, you know, back when I fought Yves, you know, I was doing that heel kick in the side of the thigh. No one had ever seen that before. You know, and, you know, and the same thing, too. I was punching the front of the thigh. And now you see it. I mean, I think I saw Benson do it with Nate. And, you know, same thing when, you know, he punched the front of the thigh. I was doing that stuff back in the day, you know, back in the UFC. So there's a lot of things that I've done along the way. Like this, I've come and done a lot of things. Like, you know, the thing with this last fight with Gil, you know, I did my little trip. You know, no one had ever really seen it. You know, they've seen Machida do it a little bit kind of thing, you know, but I mean, stylistically, like, no one had ever seen anybody do it the way I've done it. So there's a lot of things that I've done throughout my career. You know, the Superman punch, I was the first one to do that in the UFC, you know, and Joe Rogan still to this day gives me credit for that. You know, and you know, those are things that fighters have been doing, but I mean, I was basically the first first person to bring these things to the UFC. You know, not to the UFC, but to the sport. And so, I mean, I don't need to go out there and showcase anything that I do. It comes across naturally. I do things in training that other fighters don't do. I try things in training that other fighters don't do, and you know, and I go out there and put it on. You know, I try and put it on the line, and it just comes out naturally. So, you know, if fans like it, that's great. If they don't, then it's my, you know, it's no. There's nothing I can do about it. All I can do is just try and go out there and win. That's the biggest thing.
So, what do you think on the opposite side of the spectrum? If there are guys that don't naturally have the style that you have, you said it's just organic to you. When you get in there, that's just how you fight. There's a lot of guys that when they go in there, well, their style's completely different. Maybe they're just going to wrestle you and hold you down, but that's what they're doing to win. That's what they know. That's what they train to do. Is that, you know, guys get cut for that apparently now. Is that, you know, is there a line between there? Is that okay, or is that just how it is? Like, you know, you have to deal with both styles when you're watching, or is there right or wrong there?
You know, I think each fight poses a different threat. I mean, you know, you guys saw my fight with KJ. You know, I mean, he's good on the feet, you know, and I didn't train properly for the fight, and, you know, I really didn't push myself in camp, and I had some little nagging injuries that were there and kept me from really kind of training the way that I was supposed to, plus dialing back, I was so afraid of getting hurt. So my conditioning wasn't anywhere near where it normally is, and so it put me in a position where I had no choice but to keep getting the takedown and pretty much make it a boring fight. But the overall thing is, like, fighters sometimes – you show up to the venue and you're just not feeling it that night, and that's really what happened to me that night, you know. And so when fighters do that, you know, on occasion, I definitely can't knock them because I've been in their shoes. You know, I think with the UFC or just, you know, whatever, the promotions, what they're trying to do is they're trying to get away from the guys that constantly do it, you know, on a daily, you know, on a every fight routine. And you know, I think anyone who's seen my fights, I don't normally fight that way, and I was put in a situation where, you know, I need to make sure I get the win. It led me to a title shot, and, you know, getting the win was the most important thing for me in that situation. You know, and at the end of the day, no one's going to remember how I won that fight. They're just going to remember that I fought that fight, I got the W in my win column, and I moved on to fighting Gale for the title.
All right. Tell us about the movie, Josh.
The movie's gonna be pretty interesting. You know, I meet a girl online, I guess, and we've been talking for a while, and I come over to the States for the first time to meet her, or not the States, I go over to China for the first time to meet her. We have a lunch, and then, you know, and I go by her work or whatever to kind of, you know, to surprise her with flowers, and basically everyone in her office is dead, so I spend the whole movie looking for her. And, you know, and on the way I kill about 60-something people, like brutally kill them, and at the end, of course, you know, you get the girl. That's kind of how the whole storyline usually goes, right?
Right. So it sounds like you're the lead in that movie. Is that right?
Yeah. It was, you know, it's a low budget film, but you know, from what I understand, they're gonna be doing a part 2 and part 3, and they've already asked me if I'm interested in filming part 2 and part 3, and it's actually a remake of one of Dawn the Dragon movies, Moving Target, and I can tell you now, the fight scenes that we've done in this movie are way better than the fight scenes in the original. So from what I understand and from what I've seen of the other one, I can't say I'm a great actor, but I can say that I'm a better actor than what was in that first movie. So it was definitely a great experience. I had a good time, and, you know, it was a lot of work. I mean, I was working from 6 in the morning till, you know, 12, 1 o'clock in the morning every day, you know, 7 days a week. You know, there's no worker laws over there, so we were really putting in the time, trying to cram the movie in a 6-week period, and we got it done.
That's really cool. So have you found something that you like besides fighting and acting? Is that something we're going to be seeing more of from you?
You know, I hope so. I mean, I do know that, you know, Kong is looking to put together a couple movies himself, and he definitely wants to have me in them, and to go from there, and then, you know, then obviously I've got, hopefully part 2 of this will happen, and we'll see where it leads from there, you know. I mean, obviously, you're not going to get anything really coming in until I think other producers and other directors have seen your work, and so until this movie comes out and it's actually in theaters or on DVD, people have something to guide you off of, you know. I mean, given that I had no experience before other than just being in front of the camera or doing commentating, you know, I mean, I'd never had any acting lessons or anything. Once I got the part, they sent me the acting lessons for 3 days straight, and then I flew straight to China from there, and we started filming, you know, the next day after I got in from China. So it was kind of it was a rushed detail, but it seemed like everyone was very happy with what I was able to produce, and I did the best I could, and it seems like it went really well. I mean, from what I've seen of the footage and everything like that, it comes across, a lot of stuff comes across pretty well.
That's really cool, man. How long did you film? You said you filmed 6 weeks. What I want to know is, when did you get back from filming, and how long have you been in training camp?
I've been in training camp for about 4 weeks, and I got back March. When did I get back? I got March 14th is, I think, when I got back, and I started training the next day. You know, I mean, it was a little rough. I was jet lagged, but the best way for me to get over jet lag was basically just to jump off the plane and head straight to the gym and just start training. So, you know, I mean, 6 weeks, you know, in China, and, you know, obviously with that type of work schedule, you're not always eating the healthiest things. You're kind of just, you know, you're eating on the run, doing whatever you can to get some food in you as you're filming in between takes and stuff. So I had some weight I had to get off, and I had a lot of work I had to put in, and making sure that I focused mainly on getting in shape for this fight. That was the key, is making sure that I was in tip-top shape for this fight.
Right. Now you fight in less than a month now on a Fox card. Do you feel, in your honest opinion, that you've given yourself, the movie things considered, have you given yourself enough time to prepare for Nate Diaz on the Fox card?
No, I don't think I have. But I mean, honestly, I feel that even not giving myself the amount of time, I feel like I still have all the tools I need to beat him. I feel like I heard you guys talking before you guys brought me on air, and I feel that stylistically, the guys that have beaten the Nick Diaz and the Nate Diaz are the same style that I am, the Bensons, the GSPs, the Carlos Condits. Stylistically, we're good on the ground, all three of us, and we're good on the feet. We all kick a lot, we all punch, we put combinations together pretty well. I just think stylistically I got all the tools in the box that I need to beat him.
Josh,
I mean, could you have more time to fight somebody like this? You could always have more time to fight anybody. You could always want more time. But in the way the world works, you got the fight was presented, and I'm definitely not going to turn it down. So that was something that I asked for someone, whoever the quickest way to the title was, and the fact that both of us were coming off of losses for the titles, I feel like it puts me right in the position I need to be to get the next shot.
So, with that said, Josh, I'm just curious. You were talking just a few minutes ago about how it's very difficult to get guys that can emulate Nick and Nate Diaz's style, long, rangy, good boxing, jiu-jitsu black belt. Given the time frame that you had to work with here, who were you able to bring in to help you? It's just the normal guys you have at the gym that were at AKA, or were you able to bring anybody different in?
I have a guy that's 6'3". He switched to left-handed. He's pretty long and tall. He's really hard to take down. He's got pretty good boxing. He's got good stand-up. He kicks a little bit more than Nate. But we just used him realistically, and his ground game is to me not as good as Nate's, obviously. But I mean, he's a pretty good grappler. And then we just went from there to, we grapple after we spar, we grapple after we train. And so I focused a lot on just grappling with, Leandro Vieira, Neo Lahad, like guys that are top black belt level guys that I can train with. Those are the guys that I was training with at the time, or that I am still training with, making sure that I'm getting as much grappling in as possible.
So with all this said, you're still very confident that you, even with even not having the preparation, the perfect preparation that you would have wanted, that you're still going to win this fight, and that you're still the better fighter in these areas. Is this? Are you going to go in there and go for the? You going to go in there and go for the kill right?
Honestly, I don't think anybody ever goes into a Nick and Nate Diaz fight saying, like, I'm going to go in there and just smash them. Because they can take a punch. They're good on the ground. They're good at avoiding damage. I mean, you would have never, I think, if you had looked at the GSP and the Nick fight, you would have thought that Nick won. I mean, he really didn't have any marks on him, and, he took some shots, and he lost all 5 rounds. So, you just never know. These guys, they're tough, man. They're tough guys. The same thing with Gil, too. That whole camp is, they're just tough guys, man. They know how to survive. They know what it takes to make sure that they don't get damaged too much. And but they do a lot of damage themselves. And so I just think that you don't go in there thinking like, if you go in there thinking like, okay, I'm going to go in there and just rip their head off in the first 2 rounds, you're going to be standing there in the third going, man, they haven't dropped and I'm dog dead tired. And odds are they're probably going to finish you, and I feel like a lot of fighters have done that. They've got caught into that, I guess, just that bravado of just like, I'm going to beat this guy's ass because I can't stand him. And next thing you know, they're getting finished because they gas themselves out trying to take their head off. So, like I said, I've always told every young fighter, and I've told myself this over the years, is you never go in there expecting to find the knockout or getting it. But if it presents itself, it'll happen, and you won't even feel it. You know, and it's happened to me several times where I've gone in there, you know, even in sparring, I've sparred with people and I've hit them with clean shots and dropped them, and you're just like, wow, I didn't even really feel it. You know, and so the opportunity will present itself, you know, it's when you start trying too hard to get it, is when you leave yourself out there to get countered and beat up. And so I'm not gonna be that fighter.
You win this fight with Nate Diaz. You in your eyes, he's the number one contender. Are you the next in line to get a title shot? Because Jose Aldo is making a claim if he beats Pettis, you getting a title shot. Would you want a title shot, or would you be okay with, hey, we get to fight another guy? You know, because Nate is coming right off of, you know, he was the guy fighting for the belts a few months ago. You know,
yeah, I know that. And, you know, the biggest thing is, like, Gray just fought too. He just fought for the title. He's ranked number 3. Gilbert's ranked number 2, and Benson's number 1, is from what I understand, from when I look at the UFC rankings. So you have the champion, which is Benson, then you have Gilbert, and then you've got, I think Pettis was in there, but Pettis has dropped to 45 now. I would have seen after this fight with Nate, if I win, that they would have put Pettis in front of me, and then the winner of that would fight for the title. I would see that. I could understand that. But now that Pettis has dropped, I really don't see who. You know, Gray coming off of his 2 title fights, you know, with Frankie, but he's still ranked number 3. So, you know, I really can't expect myself to just jump in front of Gray. But I really don't know who else they would put in there if I beat Nate. You know, I mean, like I said, I'm not going to worry about all that stuff. I'm going to just worry about getting the win and putting myself in position to where I feel like that I should be next in line. You know, and just let the chips fall where they may. You know, that's not up to me. I just got to go in there and worry about myself and getting the win and you know and fighting my fight.
All right, Josh. I know that you and Nate are both what I would consider like Northern California fighters, right? I'm a Southern California guy, and you're the Bay Area. He's up in Stockton. I'm wondering something that I don't know, but have you guys ever crossed paths in the training room? Do you have any experience with Nate in the gym at all?
No, I have no experience with him at all in the gym. The only experience I had with him is him and I did a grappling match at a Gracie Open or something in San Francisco, and yeah, I mean, I think people have seen it on YouTube, and I guess I lost by an advantage. So I really don't. I don't know how the scoring went. I wasn't, you know, obviously when you're grappling, you don't really know what the score is until you look over at it. But I do know there was like a stink about how the points were done and blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, I really didn't care because I got paid to grapple instead of getting punched in the face. So no, I really didn't care. But, no, it was a good match. I mean, he had me in trouble, I think, twice. And, you know, I was able to get out of it and get back onto my feet and get a couple of takedowns on him and a sweep or something. So we went back and forth on the match, and from what I understand, it was a close grappling match and stuff. But, you know, a fight is way different than a grappling match. That's really the only experience I have with him.
Okay. Let's rewind a little bit. I remember this very clearly, and I'm sure you do too, I'm sure everybody listening does, when it was announced that Zuffa bought Strikeforce. And you, from what I know of you, were always a very pro-Strikeforce guy. You were a pro-Strikeforce fighter. You were very proud to fight under that banner. You believed in Scott Coker's vision and the guys behind Strikeforce. What was it like to you? What was it like for you when you found out that Zuffa bought Strikeforce, and then, you know, ultimately we could all conclude at that point that it was just a matter of time before Strikeforce was over?
It was all surreal. You know, it's like, what are you going to do? There's nothing you can do about it, and just you just wanted to know. Everything was in limbo. So as a fighter, you know, and you just want to know what's going on. Am I going to be brought over to the Strikeforce? Am I going to be brought over to the UFC, or am I going to stay in Strikeforce? Is it going to be like a feeder show like the WC? Is it going to be like, what is it going to be? Is it going to be 2 competing shows where they have the champions fight each other, you know, once a year? Or, I mean, that's realistically what I started thinking, like, what's going to go on. I mean, otherwise, you know, to me, it just felt like no big deal either way. I mean, it was, you know, I mean, if I ended up in the UFC, I ended up in the UFC. That's wonderful. I think what everyone needs to understand is that as a fighter, it doesn't matter what show you're in, you're gonna prop that show up to be the best, because you want everyone to understand that you're fighting in the best show there is. And so, you know, when I was in Strikeforce, you know, and I agree with you, I could see Coker's vision on how things on how things were, and and like I said, him and I were close, and he always talked to me about what his vision was of making the promotion successful, and I just had to go out there and keep doing what I've always done, is try to put on exciting fights. And so, that being said, like going over to the UFC, that to me is not a problem. You just got to keep. I think every promoter, you just got to make sure you go in there and you put on good fights, and you give the fans what they pay for, and give the promotion what they pay for. They pay us a pretty penny to go in there and put on a show, and at the end of the day, it's the entertainment business, and so you got to be entertaining. And I feel like, I wouldn't be in the UFC right now had that not been the case. I would have been one of the guys that they probably let go. And so, they could have let me go because I'm coming in off of a loss, for the title nonetheless. But I mean, they still could have let me go, and they brought me in and they said, hey, give you opportunity, and I feel like they're putting me in the position exactly where I would love to be. They're not making me fight, a no-name guy on the undercard. They're giving me a chance to prove myself, and that's all I've ever asked. I don't want anything for free. I want to work my way up, and I want to work for that title. I feel like I should have been given the opportunity back in 2003 for the title shot, and it was taken from me. Just given the circumstances, and now that I'm back, I'm put right back in the same position, and it was just meant to be. It was meant to be that I got this, that I was given this position, and I worked hard to get to this position, and I need to make sure that I capitalize on it. The rest is up to me. They've put me in an area where they feel I deserve, and now the rest is up to me to go out there and earn it.
Amazing. Now, is it reassuring for you seeing all the Strikeforce guys cross over into the UFC, guys that have preceded you, and they've done so well? I mean, Robbie Lawler really impressed me in his last outing, and there's a lot of other guys that have done so too. I've always been a pro Strikeforce guy, but what are your thoughts on that?
I think Dana hit it on the head, man. Dana said it correctly. The guys, like the WC guys, they came over with the chip on their shoulder. They're coming over hungry. I mean, a lot of them haven't fought in a year, like myself. It's like we're hungry to get in there and fight. These guys, you don't lose that. You don't lose the energy and the drive to want to compete. Especially on a big stage. And what bigger stage is the UFC? There's no bigger stage than the UFC. So you need to get in there. And these guys, they've come in, and they just want to prove themselves. And that's realistically what it is. They just want to come in and they want the opportunity to prove themselves. And so, it's nice to see that all the Strikeforce guys are winning and stuff, but I definitely, I don't put that in the back of my head like, oh yeah, all of them are winning, so I'm going to win automatically. It doesn't work like that, and I think also too that, for myself, I'm put into a situation where I'm fighting who is considered to be one of the best guys in their show, in the UFC. I'm not fighting, an up and comer. I'm not fighting. There's no easy. I'm not fighting an easy fight. I'm fighting one of their best guys.
So, Josh, on the same card. With that said, it is a Strikeforce versus the UFC. With the main event, Ben Henderson and Gilbert Melendez, and you have a lot of experience with Gilbert. Break that down for us. And from what you've seen from Ben, what do you think about that fight? How do you see it playing out?
Exactly what you guys were talking about before I got brought on is that I think that stylistically, the guys that pose Gilbert the most threats are guys like me, guys that are well-rounded, guys that can do it on the ground, guys that can do it on the feet, and mix it up. And I think Benson is exactly that, And so I think that. Hello. Hello? 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 Hello. Hello? Can't hear nobody.
That's just amazing. Hello. What's up?
Hello?
Hello. You're on the air.
Yes. Okay. I'm trying to get my streaming working. Who are we talking about tonight?
George, can you believe this?
Oh, I can't believe it.
What's up with Blog Talk Radio? Dude, this is ridiculous, huh? Here we have.
It's calling from constantly.
Let's see who this is. Hello, you're on the air. Hello? You know what's crazy, man? When they drop us, right? We get connected with all these other people. Like service we actually pay for, right? Right? Like we pay for this. And it seems like this is the third episode in a row that they just drop us. That's insane.
Maybe they don't like it.
What's going on? Let me see if I can get Josh back on the line. So we got connected with here's Josh right here. Let's see if we can get him connected. Josh, are you there? Oh. So George, come on, man.
Well, if it isn't one thing, it's another. But what we were talking about before we were rudely interrupted by Blog Talk, again, by the way, was Ben Henderson and Gilbert Melendez, and that's for Josh to break that down because he obviously has a lot of experience with Gilbert. So, yeah, that's what we were talking about before we were rudely interrupted by these technical issues.
This is unreal. They're still trying to connect us with like other people right now that I don't know who they are, man. I'm looking at the switchboard and I'm just like, what's going on? I told Josh to call us back. Let's see if he calls us back. I'm literally getting flooded with calls right now. Let's see what happens. Let's just do this. You ready, George?
Mm-hmm.
Hello. You're on the air.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, you actually are on the air right now. What's up, man?
We talking about Nick Diaz?
You want to talk about Nick Diaz? What do you got for us, man? This is Pedro Carrasco and George Matthews. We're live. We're live on the air.
All right, yeah, it's like just reading about all that bullshit that's going on.
I'm not gonna, they have no idea what it's like to be in their shoes,
What are you talking about exactly?
Oh, we're talking about how Nick Diaz is talking about how George, taking steroids and how he's,
Right. Are you a GSP fan, my friend?
What's that?
Are you a GSP fan?
I mean, I like GSP and I like Nick Diaz. I was looking forward to this fight for the longest time. And I waited for it, and it finally happened. And I didn't expect what happened,
What surprised you about that fight?
Just as a typical George fight, he proved that he can take you down and beat you.
That's the truth.
But
and where are you calling from? Where are you calling from, man? What's your name again?
Oh, I'm calling from Kansas.
Okay, and who are you? What's your name?
My name's Jason.
Jason. Awesome, man. Well, thanks for calling in tonight.
Yeah, I mean, I just, I just want to say is, these people don't understand how hard these guys work, and, these guys work their ass off all the time to fight. And, what Nick's doing right now, I don't know what's in his head, but, he did come to fight, and, these guys work their ass off all the time. And, he could try to get the rematch. I don't know what's in his head, but, he did come to fight, and,
All right, brother, man. Well, you're breaking up a little bit, so we're going to let you go, but thanks for calling us.
All right, thank you.
All right, thanks. Josh, are you there?
This is Jeremy.
Oh, Jeremy. What's up, Jeremy?
Not much, man. Just finished some homework, and thought I'd catch y'all's show for a little bit.
Well, thanks for tuning in.
Hey, no problem.
What do you got for us tonight, man? You're on the air live right now with me, Pedro Carrasco, and our other host, George Matthews.
Yeah, I guess I'll just build off of what the last caller was talking about. The Nick Diaz and GSP. I'm not too informed on the subject matter of why he's, so pissed and trying to, sue and get his lawyers involved and stuff over this fight. But what I read was GSP was overweight by, I think it was 0.8 of a pound.
Right.
Yeah, in my opinion, that really would, it wouldn't really, I don't think, hinder his performance, but I think it would help him because his style, since he's a lay and pray type style, I think that extra weight would cause some problems for Diaz.
Right.
So I can see where Diaz is coming from.
Right. Here's the main thing, okay? The guy signed the contract to fight, right? And they signed a contract agreeing to a 170-pound weight limit. And if you follow the sport of MMA, in title fights, these guys aren't allowed the typical 1 pound allowance, right? So in these
is it 1 pound or is it 0.1?
No, it's a full pound.
It's a full pound? Okay.
Yeah, it is. So what happens is Diaz has a legitimate claim, what we were discussing earlier, and
yeah.
I still don't think it matters, though. The Quebec Commission isn't going to do anything about it. The UFC isn't going to do anything about it. It's kind of like what we experienced with the UFC 94 with BJ Penn with the Greasegate thing, right? That all got swept under the rug,
Exactly. Yeah.
And I don't want to bring up the old stuff because none of that matters anymore, But
if
did the Quebec Commission do what now?
I wouldn't mind seeing a rematch though between them.
Me either.
I really don't think this is going to cause a rematch because Dana. I don't think he'll allow that. But now that I think that Nick Diaz has fought GSP, I think he can develop a game plan to stay away from the takedowns and and maybe he actually pull out a win.
All right, brother, man. Well, look, we have to get going. Thank you for calling in tonight, man. We really appreciate talking to you. Check us next week, okay?
All right, no problem, man. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
All right, later.
Pedro and George, what's up? Hello.
Yeah, right here, man. It's Mo.
You don't like the sound of your voice?
We got King Mo on the line, George. You ready for this?
I'm ready for it.
Mr. Mo, we were just taking calls from our listeners and talking about the GSP Nick Diaz scandal going on with this weigh-in stuff. Have you been following along with that?
No. What happened?
One of the UFC's lawyers went up to Nick Diaz before the weigh-ins and told him that they're going to allow a special circumstance just for the Diaz GSP fight at UFC 158, and they weren't going to count the decimal point when they weighed in. They told him this probably, by our estimates, a few hours, maybe an hour before the weigh-ins. They said that, and you know, with championship fights, you normally have to weigh on the dot, right? You know that.
Yeah.
So it's kind of been a big scandal. Diaz's lawyer came out and said that they're asking the Quebec Commission to grant him an immediate rematch because they didn't agree to that contractually, and it's kind of been making waves on the internet. So we were just taking calls.
So what weight GSP weighing at?
Well, they didn't disclose it because they weren't counting the decimal points for that fight. But we can, I mean, who knows, really? I mean, we can be conspiracy theorists all day, but...
No, I'm gonna say this. I really don't know, because honestly, like, as far as MMA is concerned, I keep up with the here and there. There's just so much going on, and it's like, whatever to me. But GSP's been a champion. He did 170 for so long. I really doubt that, I really doubt they cheated, but who knows? I don't know. He's made 170 for years, you know what I'm saying? So why cheat now?
Right. Makes sense. The Diaz camp, it seems like they always like to make a lot of noise, you know what I mean? And nothing against them.
No, I'm saying at the same time, if that was me and I heard that, you never know, because it's like this, right? Like, if I were Diaz, I'd be doing the same thing, you know what I'm saying? Maybe. I don't know. I think that what he's doing is right. If you feel like he's wrong, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can't tell a man how to feel, so that's how he feels, you know what I'm saying? He should go ahead and speak out instead of wait months later, and then I'll be like, well, blah, 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 and everybody doesn't get you serious. But at the same time, he's doing it now while it's still fresh, then go ahead and do it. To me, it's not a scandal. A scandal is like they're like, well, GSP weighed in at 180, and we lied to the people, the public, that he weighed and told them that he weighed in at 170. That's a scandal to me. But the 0.1 decimal or whatever, I don't know. I'm pretty sure there's more to it there's more to it, than what they're leading on. But for the outside looking in, I really don't know what's going on, and I don't, it's whatever. I hope Nick gets what he wants. I hope GSP gets what he wants. I know someone's going to be very unhappy with this, so it is what it is.
Here's the crazy thing. If you haven't been following the story, somebody from Nick Diaz's camp actually pulled their cell phone out while one of the UFC's lawyers came up to them, and he filmed the whole entire conversation, right? Now, in the conversation, the UFC's lawyer, he's like VP of Legal Affairs for the UFC, he said, this is an off-the-record thing. We're going to give you guys a 0.9 allowance. As long as you weigh 170.9, we're not going to call the decimal. So that's kind of what's going everybody.
Okay, that's different. It's like, but at the same time, maybe it's Canadian rules. I don't really know. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's up to UFC and everybody else for them to decide. Really, why change the rules now? But who knows? Diaz and them are smart. They're on top of their P's and Q's. So, somebody's in the wrong, and I don't know who it is.
So, Mo, we'll get away from the Diaz GSP story, and let's talk about what's going on with you. You last fought at the Bellator show on February 21st. It was a tough outing. What did you take away from that, and how long did it take you to get past that loss? I mean, you were somebody that is pretty much. I think everybody expects you to be at the top of the weight class, not just in that division, but just at the top of the weight class in general. So, what did you take from that? From that February 21st fight.
What? I ain't take nothing from it, man. What shit happens? You know what I'm saying? It's not like the dude was like, all right, I'm going to throw 1, 2, 3 spinning back fist. The motherfucker had his back turned and was scared and threw a spinning back fist because he didn't know where the fuck I was at, and it landed. You know what I'm saying? Camp went good. I trained hard for him. It's not like he was sitting the whole thing up the whole time. He just threw that shit out the blue. Shit lands sometimes, you know what I'm saying? But it's not, if there's a rematch, we'll play like this, 99% of the time I'm going to win that fight. Dude knew it. he knew it. You know what I'm saying? That's why he was so shocked when it landed. You know what I'm saying? But it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? I ain't taking nothing from it. Like, I'm not gonna change shit I do. Shit happens. You know what I'm saying? So I'm just gonna be more aware of spinning shit that I don't see. Make sure I see it.
Yeah, the reason I asked only is because recently a couple of guys, more specifically, Roger Arlovsky was talking about how Freddie Roach had, he was trained into boxing, and he felt that it was what he was teaching him was incorrect. And I know that you have worked with Mayweather a lot, and I was wondering what you thought about his take on that whole thing about learning boxing from a boxing coach and learning.
I'm gonna stop you there. But here's the thing, I'm gonna stop you there because striking is striking. When it's training, not many people throw spinning back fist in training because people get hurt from it. You don't see spinning back fist in K1. Well, you don't see it in Showtime, which is kickboxing, because people get hurt from it. They don't throw it. In K1, how many spinning back fists have you ever seen? How many people throw spinning back fists? Kung Lee's one of the few, Shorty Carter,
right.
And that's about it. So people can say, the Mayweather boxing, blah, blah. If it was just pure boxing, if it was like Toyota boxing, people would say shit about it being Toyota boxing. But the fact is, Jeff Mayweather's involved in the name. People are like, Mo's going there doing that boxing, blah, blah, blah. He was not landing me. I was landing him. He didn't touch me with nothing, really. I was touching him. He was switching, going backwards. We threw a combo, threw exchange. He had his back turned to me, pretty much was running away. I thought he was going to run away, and he just threw a spinning back fist. You know what I'm saying? People wanted to make a bigger deal about it the way it is. You know what I'm saying? But it is what people win, people lose. You know what I'm saying? In a rematch, that shit wouldn't happen. It's not because if you watch the fight, dude was like, I looked over my shoulder. Motherfucker, you don't look over your damn shoulder. You just do this shit out of fear because when you throw a spinning back fist and you know you're going to throw it, you're going to throw it like Shorty Carter did. You're going to throw it like Kung Lee throws it to fucking. They set that shit up. They throw it, boom, boom, boom. They set it up. He just threw that shit because he was scared and he had his back turned. It is what it is, and you know what? Good for him it landed. It landed for him. But that's a one-time thing. No one else. Is that going to land nobody else?
What is Bellator telling you now, Mo? Are they going? Obviously, this guy advances in the tournament. You want a rematch. I'm sure you want a rematch. Everybody would.
No. Rematch is cool, but you know what? I find win the tournament. If he's in the tournament, which I'm pretty sure he's gonna lose his Zayas, if he wins the Zayas, if he wins or loses, don't matter. Cause I know I'm gonna see him eventually. You know what I'm saying? The wrong will be righted, and then that's it.
What is?
You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead. What you saying?
I was gonna ask you, what have the talks been with as far as you're concerned, with fights with Bellator and you since your last fight that we're talking about right now?
I don't know. I'm right now. I'm doing pro wrestling training. Just left the gym, doing some pro wrestling stuff. I'm waiting to hear back. I'm training back in the gym. We'll train my boy Roy Nelson. Roy Nelson can knock out Chip Congo. Train with Ryan Martinez. It's a Mayweather gym, like I always am every day. Strength training. I'm doing everything, man. I'm training for the next tournament. When that's gonna be, I am not sure yet. But when it happens, I'll be ready.
So you're in Vegas full time right now, Mo?
Yep, in Vegas full time, you know what I'm saying? And the thing is, you know what? The thing I like about Bellator is, with me, I could either talk, I could have said, start some words with the champ or went up, and do whatever, but you know what? I got to earn my keep. And that's what I'm doing in Bellator, I thought I was going to win the tournament, but I got upset. It happens, you know what I'm saying? I guarantee if I asked you where you were at when Mike Tyson got beat by Buster Douglas, you can tell me. Because I was in my auntie's house, underneath the bed crying. Everybody knows where they're at when upsets happen. It's part of sports, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Anybody can lose, anybody can win. So it is what it is. I'm still whoop his ass next time I see him in the cage if it happens. Or I just win the tournament, get the belt, and then he gets to work his way to me. Makes no difference to me.
Let's talk about this move to Vegas, because I know for a fact I've seen you around the Southern California scene. I live in Lake Forest, where Mark Muniz's gym is, and I saw you over in Rain a lot, over at King's MMA. Why the move to Vegas? And do you feel that has benefited you?
Well, the move to Vegas, because I like working with Jeff Mayweather. I work with Dewey Cooper as well. My two coaches, my boy, and Master Roy Nelson, Sensei Roy. I like working with him. And it's, AKA was good, but at the same time, man, San Jose was way too expensive for me. You know what I'm saying? I just need, it's too expensive, man. You know, and AK is a great team too. Too expensive. I just had to, I had to bounce out, and Vegas was good. I just thought, I felt, more at home in Vegas a little bit as far as like my family. My family was happy with the move, and I felt like it was the right move for me.
So switching gears a little bit, but tell us a little bit about the pro wrestling thing. You've been training for a little while now. Pro wrestling training, I've talked to a lot of pro wrestlers before, and it can be grueling. And I think that a lot of mixed martial arts fans don't have the appreciation for how tough it really can be. Why don't you explain to everybody what a typical training session is like for pro wrestling, what you go through, and how does it compare to when you're done leaving that, how compare to how you feel after training mixed martial arts?
Well, the thing is, a lot of people, especially fans, like, they don't know shit. So I feel like, they try to give me a flag for saying, how can you say that? How can you say pro wrestling training is tougher than MMA? Well, motherfucker, I can say it because I've done it. You know what I'm saying? You ask Kid Shamrock, you ask Dan Severn, you ask any of the guys that did change, went to pro wrestling for MMA, they'll tell you. You know what I'm saying? All those bumps and falling down and falling through ropes and, taking the bumps is what kills you, you know what I'm saying? And I don't know, I just, it's tough, man, because you can do it every day. And, I come in to practice, warm up, do a warm-up, hit the ropes, do my bumps, and then just do chain wrestling stuff. And the bumps is what gets you, man, because that mat, the ring, ain't soft. It ain't padded, you know what I'm saying? It's wood metal, you know what I'm saying, and a little bit of canvas. So it's not soft, but, I don't know, I enjoy doing it because the thing is, in MMA, you can win a fight and get booed, and people hate you. But pro wrestling, you can win, get booed, you can lose, get booed. You know what I'm saying? It's all consistent, and you're doing it for entertainment. And it's fun, you know what I'm saying? MMA is fun, but a lot of times, like, they criticize you for what you do. Like, for instance, people criticize GSP for doing takedowns. But you know what? How can you hate a winner? You know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like, a lot of fans, they look at MMA like it's something easy to do, and they think that we should go out there and entertain them and not worry about getting the win. Because, you can lose, you can be in an entertaining loss and still get cut. Just because you lose as an entertaining fight don't mean nothing. That means that you're going to take your ass home.
So you've wrestled in the impact zone, and you fought in front of large crowds for title fights, and you competed at high level for wrestling. Compare the crowds though, like the pro wrestling crowd, like the impact zone, with like the MMA crowd when you're fighting at like Bellator or when you fought at Strikeforce. How different is that?
Okay, it's different because the thing is, like, the MMA crowd, you can bullshit the MMA crowd. And what I mean is, you can just go out there and not be a fighter and win, and they'll love you. You know what I'm saying? But as far as pro wrestling, you can't bullshit no pro wrestling crowd because they ain't feeling you. They won't cheer. And once they don't cheer, then that means you're irrelevant. They won't boo you. They'll just be like, who is this motherfucker? Get him out of there. Or I'm going to get some drink. Y'all can watch it, but I'm not watching him. You know what I'm saying? It's like Glacier. When Glacier was in WCW, no one gave a damn about Glacier. What's up?
So in pro wrestling, would you say the worst reaction is no reaction?
Yes, I know it is, because that means that no one gives a fuck about you. In MMA, they'll boo you, or you'll get something. In pro wrestling, you'll get cheers, boos, or nothing. And once you get nothing, that's when you're in trouble. In MMA, they'll boo you, like, as soon as you get a takedown, boo, so you're getting some, you know what I'm saying? You knock out a submission, cheer, you know what I'm saying? If nothing's happening, boo. In pro wrestling, you can go out there and look phenomenal, but if they're not feeling you, they won't do a damn thing. They'll just be like, whatever. Because they boo you, and you can just be like, all right, fuck it, I'm a bad guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if they don't do that, then they're like, okay, what are we going to do with this dude? No, they don't really care about him. They'll train us to cheer for him or boo him, so we waste the time with them.
A lot of guys have different styles, even in pro wrestling, to kind of pop the crowd. With the guys who are more high flyers, the guys that put their bodies through more torment, work a stiffer style. Where have you kind of fallen into? Like, where do you think your style is going to be? I know you grew up watching a lot of Arn Anderson, Ric Flair, Four Horsemen. that. That's
Ronnie
a totally
Garvin.
different
I'm
wrestling style.
I'm going to be a stiff style with amateur wrestling. With amateur Olympic wrestling. I'm going to make sure I'm stiff style MMA. I'm going to throw it all in there. A little bit amateur, a little bit of everything. You know what I'm saying? Because when I go train people, like, damn, what's that? Because I'll do shit like from amateur wrestling or MMA, and they'll be like, oh, I've never seen it before. You know what I'm saying?
So what's the finishing maneuver?
Well, it's going to be a modified Garvin stomp.
Modified Garvin stomp. How exactly is it modified? The Garvin stomp, we're talking about the WWF rugged Ronnie Garvin stomp?
Yeah, I'm going to modify it a little bit to make it more for me. I'm not going to say how, because I've already modified it a little bit, but y'all going to see, because I'm going to be doing matches this year for TNA.
So take us through that a little bit, though. Who's been the big help for you in kind of took you under the wing a little bit to help you and show you the pro wrestling game? It's a new thing for you.
Big influences. My OVW staff, Nick Dinsmore and Trailer Park Trash, Frank Miller. My boy Kenny King. Kenny King's the man. You know what I'm saying? As an X Division champion over at TNA. And just from really another thing about Mama, because I grew up watching wrestling with her. You know what I'm saying? And if it wasn't for her, I wouldn't be a wrestling fan.
Right on. Let me ask you this: at the end of the day, you have a great contract. You broken grounds with being a wrestler and an MMA fighter simultaneously, when you could have opted and gone to the UFC. Are you happy with your decision?
I'm happy with my decision because you know what, I'm a man. You know what I'm saying? Like I could be myself. To me, the organization don't matter. I ain't no groupie. Somebody can be like, oh, I'm going to go to the UFC and fight for so-and-so. Oh, Daddy Dana. You'll never hear me call another man daddy. That ain't my blood. My daddy, you know what I'm saying? You will never hear me call another man uncle that ain't a family friend or ain't blood. So with me, I'm looking at it like, hey, Dana White's doing this thing, the Rangers doing this thing, the UFC is doing their thing. That's great for them. I'm doing my thing. I don't count money, you know what I'm saying? I don't count other man's money. I worry about what I got to do. But as far as looking in the mirror, I'm happy.
Okay. As a competitor, though, as a pure competitor, let's forget the wrestling stuff for a second. The entire world is in belief that whoever holds the UFC gold around their waist is the number one fighter in the world. Does part of you wish that you had that opportunity, or is it really irrelevant?
No, it's irrelevant because at the same time, the entire world believed the world was flat. The entire world believed that, it's like the entire United States at one point believed that black people weren't smart. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody can believe what they want to believe. You know what I'm saying? I know it's true. I've competed at the highest level. I know that organization means nothing. That's like me saying, or the WBO champ, to be a WBO champ means more than being a WBC champ. You know what I'm saying, in boxing. You know what I'm saying? So it's not about who you are. It's not about what organization you're in. It's about who you are and style. Style makes fight. You can get a guy that's not known and put him up against a person that's known, and he might have the right style to defeat that person. So I know that an athlete, but the average fan will not know because they don't compete, or they never did compete. So they're just looking at what Joe Rogan. Listen to what Joe Rogan. Everybody says, oh, wow, this guy was a 2 top 8 champion in Maine or Mississippi. He's a world class wrestler, and guess what? They believe that shit. Wow, he was a Golden Glove. He has high level boxing. He was a Golden Glove champion in Delaware. Well, he might be a Golden Glove champion in Delaware, but that don't mean he's a high level boxer. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. Called marketing. They did a great job of marketing. The world believes that the best fighters are there, and that's for them to do. I don't care what the world thinks. I just care about what my family thinks, what I think.
Let me ask you. Prager wants to talk MMA. If I could give a shit, I want to ask you about pro wrestling. So let me ask you here: Are you gonna watch WrestleMania? Are you? I think you're a wrestling fan. Millions of people, tuning to that all over the world. You gonna watch WrestleMania this year?
You know what? I can't do it, though. I'm only supporting TNA, though. I get the results. Because you know what? I watched it last year or 2 years ago when The Rock faced John Cena. Or was that last year, 2 years? I don't remember when it was, but whatever, But now the rematch, don't care.
Who's going over in the rematch?
No, I don't know. I probably, I don't know, probably John Cena, because The Rock has movies coming out. You know what I'm saying? So I figured there's probably using The Rock to, The Rock is to, put eyes on him. He's using WWE to promote his movies, and WWE's using him because he's promoting movies. Who knows? I really don't know. I just know that, a boy Kenny King doing things in TNA, Impact Wrestling, TNA's on the road, Dixie Carter's my homegirl, she's doing big things, Aces and Aces he's taking care of, you know what I'm saying, Bobby Roode and A-Double, you know what I'm saying, Austin Aries, great tag team. So, I'm more at TNA, you know what I'm saying, straight up.
Just kind of curious with the promotion of the different storylines that have been all over they've been promoted pretty heavily. I thought I'd kind of pick your brain on what you thought about some of those angles that have been going on right now. But at any rate, we'll switch gears back to MMA a little bit. There's another guy, 205-pounder, that is no longer with the UFC. Clinton Jackson, is that a fight that you would take if Bellator signed him? Is that a fight you'd be interested in?
I don't know. Whatever. If he wanted it, but really, it's whatever, man. Rampage is a good. I'm cool. Me and Rampage are cool, but if you want to fight me and it makes sense, okay, it's whatever. It's like this real tournament, or you're willing to fight me, then I'll fight you. So that's how I see it. I ain't turning nobody down, regardless who it is, because they're willing to fight me and they're willing to sign to be in a tournament. You know what I'm saying? So, I just want to see Rampage make his money and be happy. You know what I'm saying? And if he wants to fight me, I'll fight him. If he don't want to, hey, I'll train with you. To me, I like the dude. No problems with him. He's a vet. You know what I'm saying? He's been a pioneer for a lot of the black fighters as well. And he's a good dude, man. We're cool now. You know what I'm saying? He's smart.
Amazing. George, first of all, I'd like to say that was an amazing question. Mo, I don't know if you know this or not, but you know the headlines you and Rampage were making back in the day with all the beef, right?
Yeah.
All right. And then you guys did a signing in Vegas with our boss, BJ Penn, for MMA for MMA Elite. And during that signing, you guys shook hands and you guys reconciled, right? At least that was the first sign of reconciliation in the public eye, and we broke that story. So that was really cool. It was a good question, George. Mo, my last question for you before we let you go, because you've been gracious with your time tonight, is what do you say to any of your detractors? What do you say to any of the people who are hating on you right now after your loss?
Well, nothing, because it's like this. My biggest loss is better than their biggest win. It's sports. I've trained hard. I lose. You know what? I train harder and train smarter and come back and win. I'm not worried about what people think. Those guys that are talking about me probably ain't done shit in their life. And if we were to look at them and see who they were, they'd be losers. You know what I'm saying? I'm not worried about people like that.
Okay, amazing. There it is, everybody. Mr. King Mo, Bellator fighter, TNA wrestler. Mo, thank you very much for your time tonight, man. We really appreciate you coming on the show with us.
All right, man. Thanks for having me, dog.
All right. We'll be in touch, man. Thank you. Thank you again.
All right.
Bye.
King Mo. Yeah, King Mo he's always awesome to talk to. Man, he isn't bullshit at all. So,
I don't think we could ask for a better guest. I mean, I'm pretty sure he just provided us with a week of headlines.
I'm really interested to see how that balance is going to be between pro wrestling and MMA. I mean, like he was saying, he believes the training is harder.
Right.
Pro wrestling. I have heard the same thing. I've got pro wrestlers that come and train with me, and I've done jiu-jitsu and things like that, and they look mangled when they get in there, man. And these guys aren't even competing they're very physical. It's a very physically demanding job is what they have, and even it doesn't have to be competitive.
Right.
But people are tough because it's to train for an MMA fight and simultaneously have to train to keep your pro wrestling skills sharp. That takes a really tough body. So.
That's true. All right, Mr. Matthews, we have a caller from the 395 who has been very patient in waiting for us to get to him. Or her. I don't know who this is. Are you there, caller? Hello. I guess not, man. You know what? I have them in my queue, and they're not there. So whatever.
He wasn't waiting that patiently, I guess.
I mean, he was waiting. I mean, this guy's been on the line. He's been calling since we hit the air, and he hangs up and he calls back, and he hangs up and he calls back. But yet, when I actually connect him, he's not here.
Keep on knocking, but you can't come in.
Maybe he got a call from like a girl or something, and he's on another line, and he's like, whatever, you know. He's like,
I would hang up. I would hang up this phone call for a bit and go home.
No, you won't.
But you know, at any rate, one thing I did kind of drop the ball was I was kind of curious from Tim Lowe's perspective what his thoughts were on Chael and John Jones. I am kind of curious now what he thinks about that, especially from a wrestling standpoint, because people kind of the general consensus is that Chael's only chance of winning is to seemingly wrestle John Jones for the entire fight.
Okay.
So,
does Chael have a chance of winning? Do you really think so? I mean, personally, I don't think so. I mean, I'm just going to say it because just keeping it real. Chael's a middleweight, moving up to light heavyweight, and, you know, he's got our boy Mike Bolche in his corner, and Mike has all the confidence in the world in him. But in reality, John Jones is pretty unstoppable, bro. And you put Chael Sonnen in. Chael Sonnen's not even the contender at light heavyweight. If I was a betting man, I'd put the house, the farm, the cars, everything in my bank account on John Jones. I don't really see the upset happening there.
No. It's an uphill battle.
Yeah.
It's not going to be an easy. It's not going to be an easy task, but I don't want to. Every time I've said, well, this guy can't lose, I end up eating shit. So, no thanks. I think I'll not do that. I think I pretty much make the mistake.
Mr. 395, I'm going to interrupt you, George. Mr. 395 is calling us back. Are you there?
Yeah. Hello?
What's up, man? I tried to connect just a few minutes ago. I didn't hear you.
Yeah, 'cause I had a problem with my phone, 'cause I think that's... actually, I'm not coming from the United States, so I think that's the problem.
Okay. What's your name, man? Let's start out with that.
Mohammed, just like King Mo.
Muhammad, just like King Ho. Right on, right on. And you've been very focused and you've been very diligent in trying to reach us tonight. You know, I've been seeing your number pop up all night on my switchboard. So, what are you calling about, man? What can we do for you?
Yeah, I wanted to have your opinion on, first of all, the Chael Sonnen versus John Jones fight.
Okay, we were just talking about that. I personally think Chael Sonnen doesn't have a chance in hell. And that's like me, like I could break it down really analytically for you, but that is the summary of my opinion, is that John Jones is going to win. George, what do you think for Muhammad?
Well, you know, I think that, like, you seen Chael Sonnen in the first fight with Anderson Silva, he dominated it. So I don't really know what he's gonna do for this fight. So if he plays if he has the same game plan that he had for the first fight against Anderson Silva, I think he maybe stands a chance with Jones. But as if Jones' wrestling is really good, I don't really know who's gonna win. But I think Jones will beat him up.
George, what do you think? Tell Muhammad what you think.
The problem with the whole thing is that you can't really count anyone out and say with 100% certainty this guy can't win. Because every time that happens, the guy turns around and wins. It just happened with Bigfoot and Wolverine. Not too long. With that said, Chael would need to execute that game plan for 5 rounds. He really doesn't finish anybody on top like that. In fact, the last person I recollect him finishing on top like that was Brian Stan, and I don't think that that's going to be quite the same as John Jones. So it's going to be more difficult. It's going to be difficult to get him on the ground to begin with. It's not impossible, but it's going to be very, very hard, and it's very difficult to not have John Jones the heavy favorite. So,
what do you think, Mohammed?
Well, I really don't know. I think it's going to be a very close fight. So if John Jones hasn't improved, and Chael, I personally think Chael can bring something more to the table that he already brought to all his fights. But I really don't know, because every time I made like the GSP Diaz fight, I said like Diaz is gonna box him up and shit, but Diaz got like he didn't seem like he was really into the fight, so I really don't know what's gonna happen. But I personally think John Jones will win.
Right. Let me ask you this, Mohammed. Who do you want to win? Like, let's throw out the analytics. Let's forget about what we know about each guy as far as their fighting style. As a person, who do you want to win this fight between John Jones and Chael Sonnen? Would you like to see Chael Sonnen get the upset?
Well, I don't think I want to see Chael Sonnen as the champion, because I really want to see that Anderson Silva versus John Jones fight, big fight. So I want Jones to win this one.
Amazing. All right, Mohammed, anything else you'd like to ask us before we let you go?
Well, as early on the show, you talked about that Diaz attacking GSP on for a rematch, like he was accusing him for doing drugs and for the weight cut and shit.
Right. What do you think about all that?
Oh, personally, I'm a big Diaz fan, but I think he's making too much. I really think that's making too much waves and too much. Because I don't think he's gonna get a rematch. Because Johnny Hendricks wanna fight him, and I don't really think he's gonna get a rematch. So I think he's making all that for nothing, and it's just making him look like some guy who's just taking excuses, and you know. So I'm a really big fan. I really think that's just too much for nothing.
I tend to agree with you. I agree with you, Mohammed. Even if he has a valid argument, right? Even if Nick is in the right and the Quebec Commission and the UFC are in the wrong, it doesn't matter because he's not going to get a rematch. So what he's doing is he's just creating controversy and noise for nothing. That's pretty much it. That's my opinion on it. What about you, George?
Like I said, man, unless they somehow overturn the decision, it's probably just quicksand they're sitting in right now. It's not going to go anywhere. So, probably like you said, a month or two of headlines, and then we're right back to where we were with Hendricks waiting for GSP to finish filming the movie, and and we get a title fight sometime in the summer, late summer sometime.
All right.
So that's my thinking.
All right, well, there it is. Mohammed, where are you calling from?
I'm French.
I'm sorry, repeat that. You kind of broke up a little bit.
I am French. Coming from France.
Awesome. All right, well, thank you very much, man, for tuning in to BJPenn.com radio.
Yeah,
thank
you for answering my call and allowing me to speak in this show. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Call back anytime, man. I'm going to remember the number you called from. I'm going to put it in my contacts, and anytime you call up, we will make sure to connect you to our live show, okay?
Well, thanks a lot, man. I really appreciate it. Thanks.
All right, thank you, brother. Have a good night, man.
Yeah, thanks. Bye, guys.
Bye. Mr. Matthews.
That was a French Mo.
That was from France, brother. We're global here. We're global completely.
Yeah, that's how we do over here. Yeah, he had to get the French Mo. He had to follow up King Mo. Not quite the king.
We had a few technical difficulties tonight, which seems to be par for the course for the past 3 weeks. This is our 4th week. Our first week we had no technical difficulties. In the last 3 weeks, we had technical difficulties. I don't know who's running BJPenn.com, but whoever it is, I'm definitely going to try to talk to him and sort these out. Maybe we need to get on a new platform or something. I don't really know.
Yeah, well, probably something's going to have to change here, especially as it grows a little bit. But we are sorry about it, but again, we persevered and we made it through. So we're still here at the end.
I really like the callers calling in, man. That was really cool.
Yeah, actually, I like that also. Maybe what we could do is grab a couple after every segment, just kind of, and we'll get their thoughts too.
If we can talk, how much longer do you think we can talk? If we ask for another caller to call in, do you think they will? You want to try it?
I don't know. You can give it a shot.
Callers, call in. Anybody call in. Ask questions to George Matthews. He will answer any question you have for him right now. Isn't that right?
That's a good little line right there. You're gonna get. We'll see if that gets any bite. If it doesn't, I won't be offended. I'll be honest.
I mean, I'm watching the switchboard right now. I don't see any calls, unfortunately. For you, George, I guess nobody wants to ask you any questions, man.
That's good. They should ask you questions, right? You're you have more information, right? Don't you?
Do I?
That's right.
Information about what?
I'm gonna actually asking you questions. I'll be asking you questions.
I have answers about a lot of things, like the current state of real estate in the United States.
You have a good answer for that.
What we're going to publish on BJPenn.com tomorrow.
Those are actually more pertinent that we're going to publish on BJPenn.com tomorrow. Yeah. They're actually more important than the real estate guys. But yeah. Either way, it was a good show despite the technical difficulties, and we were able to get through it again, and hopefully we get some of the stuff sorted out.
We're going to get it sorted out. Like I said, I'm going to talk to that director of BJPenn.com and let him know that some things aren't going right with this broadcast, okay? The past 3 weeks we've been disconnected from the broadcast. It's supposed to be kind of, secure and reliable, and it seems to not be. So,
well, not right now. But, I mean, it is what it is. So we'll get through it. We got through the last few weeks. We had, but we've had some good guests though, and that's more than made up for it. We had some little technical difficulties, but I think that the stuff with Mike Dolce, Mike Kyle, Martin Campman, today with King Mo. I think that we've had some.
Mr. Thomson had a really good statement, man. I see the headline now for tomorrow for Josh Thomson, and basically, unfortunately, we lost him, and he tried to call us back while we were on the phone with King Mo. He tried to finish his interview with us, but we didn't get to him in time. He said, "I don't care what people think about me. I'm not trying to be flashy for the fans. I'm just flashy. That's just my style," or whatever he said. I was like, dude, you're such a G, Josh. You know what I mean? Because he is a flashy fighter, and to watch him fight, maybe it's because he's one of my homies and he's one of my friends, but I really appreciate a Josh Thomson fight when he's actually in there and he's standing in the pocket and he's trading punches. I really like that.
I think the only time you don't ever see, the only times people can ever say anything is when he's gone in a fight injured. I don't think people realize that he's gone into a lot of fights, way less than 100%. He just won't pull out the fight and is coming there to get, put work in. And, people have to realize that too, that, he fought a lot of fights, a lot of guys say they fought fights injured. I think Josh has fought with some pretty rough, probably he could have easily pulled out some of those fights, to be able to feel him like this. And he still went in there and fought, and he had fight of the night on a lot of those fights. They were razor thin. I'd like to see him come in there fully healthy, well rested, and Nate Diaz is a hell of an opponent. Both those guys have awesome style. So it's gonna be a great fight.
Yep, it is gonna be a great fight. Something people can't miss. April 20th on Fox Television, UFC on 7.
Dan and Gilbert, the same night, and that's gonna. Boy, I mean, talk about four guys that are gonna be matching that fight, looking for that fight of the night bonus money, because you might as well flip a coin on that one. Dana might be handing out doubles that night. Both those guys, both those fights have all the making in the world. The only thing with Ben and Gilbert is it could be 5 rounds of madness versus 3 rounds for Nate.
Yes, sir. All right, Mr. Matthews. Nobody called in to ask you any questions, man. I'm sorry.
All right.
Maybe next time. But for now, I'm going to let you close us out, brother.
Well, as long as you're closing me out, let everybody know to come train with me at Elite Edge ATL. Since you won't come in and call, you should come in and let me beat the shit out of you. That'd be even more.
Oh, in Atlanta, Georgia.
Well, I threw it out there now, so so at any rate, come on through, new bodies. But till the next time next week, man. It's always fun.
Right on. That's it, guys. Hey, George, you want me to play our little jingle before we go?
I think you should. It's only right.
All right, that's it, guys.
Do it up.
All right, that's it, guys. Thanks for listening to BJPen.com radio. Hopefully we'll work out the technical difficulties. Thank you for your support. Queuing up the music.